Leeson, and I'm from the Bloomingdale Public Library. Welcome to Crochet Along with Miss Carol. Today we're starting a brand new series called Crochet Skills with Miss Carol, and we are going to focus on the skills you need to be successful with crochet rather than on what projects we are creating. With these skills, you will learn how to read a pattern, and you will be able to create anything you want to create. Once you get the skill sets in line. In the meantime, we're just going to practice. And the first thing we need to do is to look at the tools that you will need to be successful. You will need a crochet hook. What I give my beginning crochet students is a 6.0 or a J-sized hook. This is a plain basic crochet hook without any fancy handles or anything. It's fine to get started. You can pick them up inexpensively at any hobby shop, craft shop, any place where you can buy yarn. Or you can order it online. You'll need some yarn. I like to use an inexpensive acrylic yarn to get started. You'll want one that is about a 4 to 5, here we have it here, a 4 to 5 number on the back, and you want it to be a light color or a bright color. No blacks, no navy blues or dark browns. You want to be able to see clearly where your stitches are, where your yarn is going, and where you need to place your hook. I have had some students that have been successful with a white or a cream color or a light gray, and I've had others that have difficulty seeing that clearly and have had better luck with a pastel or a light color yarn. You'll need a nice pair of scissors. I prefer a pair of embroidery scissors that are nice and sharp so it cuts my yarn cleanly. You'll also want to have on hand a yarn needle. Again, you get these at the craft store. You can order them online. You want a big enough eye in your needle that you can bring your yarn through it. You want it to be not sharp, but enough to go through the yarn that you're working with. You will use this to weave in your ends at the end of your project. And then I like to use stitch markers. These are my favorite. They come in a variety of colors. They are pliable so that they're easy to open and close. I use them to mark the end of my row. I'll use them when I set my project down to hold the loop that I'm working with so it doesn't pull out and undo everything I've done. I also use them when I'm doing amigurumi or stuffed animals to mark the beginning of my row or where I want to place things like arms or eyes or noses or when I need to put the pieces together. There are some that look like this but are out of a hard brittle plastic. I would avoid those. My experience with those is that they often break right here at the curve. If you don't want to invest in stitch markers, you can always use a little bit of contrasting color yarn, a paper clip, or a safety pin. So you gather your tools and your materials to use, and we'll get started. So the first thing we need to do is to pick up our crochet hook and see how you're going to hold it. I'm going to pick mine up, and it's natural for me to pick it up in the pencil hold, just like you would hold your pencil to write with. I have seen more people that are comfortable picking their hook up in the knife hold. You can use either hold, or you may find that there's another way that works for you. The only wrong way to hold your hook is a way that doesn't work for you or that causes pain or stress or fatigue in your hands. So pick up your hook and start out with the way that seemed comfortable for you to pick it up with. If that's not working for you, then you can switch and try a different way until you find out what does work. The next thing is to figure out how to hold your yarn. You're going to hold your hook in your right hand and your yarn in your left hand, unless of course you're left-handed, and then you switch it around. So your job of your left hand is to control the yarn. An important part of crochet is making sure that the tension between your hook and the source of your yarn is just right, not too tight and not too loose. You want a straight line from your finger to your hook that's easy to work with. You're going to need to hold your work. Well, first of all, let's tie a slip knot so that we can get our hook in here. So to do a slip knot, I'm going to take the tail end of my yarn. This is my working end, which I'm going to lay over my hip palm. I'm going to make a circle and bring the tail end over the top of my working end. Then I'm going to pinch and make a loop with that tail end and push it through the center of the circle from the back and pull it through. Then pull on both the tail and the loop to make that snug. And there we have our slip knot. You're going to put your hook in the middle of that knot, pull on that tail, and make it so it's not too big, but you want to see plenty of daylight there. The loop on your hook should look like an upside down raindrop with the point pointing down. Now to hold your, whoops, and that's okay, we can put it right back on. To hold your yarn, you want your yarn to come over your index finger. The only job your index finger has at this point is to keep that yarn straight. You don't want it real tight so that it tightens up that loop on your hook, but you don't want it loose so that it's hard to work with your yarn. You want a nice straight line. The job of your middle finger and your thumb is to hold your work steady. Now, I like to wrap that yarn around my little finger so that it keeps the feed from my source of yarn to my index finger steady so that I can keep that tension just right. You will find a way where you're comfortable holding your yarn. But the things that are important is that somehow you have to keep that line straight between your yarn and your hook, and you have to control the loop and the work that you're working into so that your hook can do its job. We're going to create a chain. So I'm going to bring that yarn over the top of my hook from the back to the front and catch it in that little hook there. That's why it's called a hook. Now I'm going to guide that yarn through the loop that is on my hook, and I create a second loop. This is my first chain. Then I just move my finger up to give myself a little more, keeping a straight line. Yarn over, and use the hook to guide that yarn through the loop. There's 2 chains. And you do that again and again. And you keep going until you have a chain you can work with. And do you see how I'm moving my work down and gradually pulling more yarn up onto my fingers so that I have enough to work with? All right. And I'm going to keep making chains. Look how neat and even my chains are. Each chain is bigger. Let me give myself some room so I don't pull that out. Is bigger than the head of my hook so that I can easily put my hook through that chain while I'm working. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 chains. The swatch I'm going to work on first is going to be a 10 stitch swatch. So I want to add one more chain. So I have 10 chains plus what they call a turning chain, which gives you room to work, to go back the other way. So I have 11 chains. Practice making chains until your chains are fairly even and that there's enough room in each chain that you're going to be able to put your hook in there without struggling. That could be 50 chains, it could be 150 chains, it might be 500 chains before you're happy with it. But practice, 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 and you will be a lot happier and a lot less frustrated when your chains are the right size so that you can work into them easier. Well, thank you for joining me today on Crochet Skills with Miss Carol. The next video will be on how to work a single crochet. See you then.